0. Good morning, everybody. We're going to give it a couple of minutes before we formally roll the show out. We got a very good friend of mine. It's our guest today, who you're going to be seeing more and more of. Let's see here. We have a double header this morning, by the way. We have another show that's going to be starting with Andy Horry. We're going to go right from this show to the next one this morning. And I believe we got 2 tomorrow, 3 Thursday, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, and I'm probably going to add some more to it. Let's see here. All right. Looks like we have liftoff. Let me check the sound though. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, should I talk? Does that help you check the sound if people are talking?
Oh. We got 6.
Hi,
hang on. There you go. You can talk all you want.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see.
It's exciting.
Yeah, we got sound. We have Katie and the Crow's in the house. Marilyn Biggers is in the house. Part of our team. Incredible. Stephen Hogg. Tom Whitebear, who's been a big supporter. And Patty Soletto is in the house. All right, we got 12 people and counting. Let me just fix the screen so the old man can see what's happening.
The young man.
Yeah. That's right. I'm young. I just turned 57 on last Sunday. What's today? Sunday? Oh, today's Monday. 8 days ago. Hello, Cleo Ferraro. Okay, so let me go ahead and roll the show out. I hadn't seen Cleo's name before. Welcome to Soulology Network. My name's Todd Medina, and this is SoulSpeaks 5D. It's a conversation with, today it's Julie Roberts, very good friend of mine, the sidekick of our sister Katie Indicrow. And hello, and to see you. Yeah, so for those of you who are not familiar, the style of this show, it's not a talk, it's not really an interview, it's a conversation. And we also do it spontaneously for the most part. It is a platform for people like Julie, and that's what we're here to do, is discuss what she's up to, where she's been, where she's at, where she's going, and what's happening real time in the ascension. So welcome to the show, my beautiful sister.
Thanks, Todd. What an honor and pleasure it is to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be sharing space with you, and thank you for that. So, yeah, I know, we've done a couple of collaborations with Katie Indicrow, and I know you guys are really tight. I know you live in Boston area.
I do.
And so, I don't know. Where do you want to start? I know I just found out you have the what was it called?
Inner Space.
Inner Space page. I just joined that. And I know you're also very, very, what's the word? You have a very high intellect, and you're very connected to infinite intelligence. And you're a mom, and you just pretty much do it all. So I don't know where you want to start with this. You want to tell us when you woke up, or where you always woke up?
Yeah, yes and yes. I don't know. I was thinking about it, getting ready to come on and chat with you. Like, what are we going to chat about? I'd say my first glimpse into the oneness of the universe happened when I was a kid. I would talk to squirrels and talk to trees, and I spent a lot of time in my backyard. I had a whole host of imaginary friends that would come visit me, and I would have lengthy conversations with them. But probably that lasted longer than most kids have imaginary friends. Maybe till when I started going to high school, and I figured out it wasn't that cool anymore to talk to imaginary friends, at least in high school world. But then when I was a senior in college, when I was a kid, I just always anytime I'd see the stars, I'd hear anything about space travel. It was just my thing. I was I have to be an astronaut. I have to get into space. It's what I have to do. And you know how you ask kids, they might have different things or goals for their life. Mine was always plugged into that. Anytime I'd see stars at night, anytime I'd see a picture of anything in the universe, I would just get like a little, excited. So figuring out what to do with that, I took like those aptitude tests in high school, and I was like, oh, aerospace engineering. Like maybe if I build the ships, they'll let me drive them. So I went to college for mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, and I always liked like chemistry, organic chemistry. So I like my electives were like quantum physics, which I didn't have to take, but I was just like, I need to take that. So I've always been sciencey. Um, I was in college in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And the first Gulf War, the first Bush War, I had high school friends that were in the 82nd Infantry. Like it was like our, I don't want to say it Vietnam, but it was like my generation's like, whoa, this is messed up. Like, why are all my friends going to war? Not all my friends, but some of my friends. And I was studying as an aerospace engineer. My senior year of college, I drove cross country with some friends on spring break and went to California and had some epic high times by the beach there. I was like coming along and saw this nuclear power plant on the beach near San Luis Obispo, and I just had this like epiphany of like everything I was studying in school was not what was good for, like it was like a, do you know Paul Stamens, who talks about mushrooms and how they come from space, and they're like when you take psilocybin mushrooms they're like a wake-up call to like the earth is in trouble. What is
I
your
don't know. I don't know who Paul is, but I've taken him many, many times.
So when you have one of those epiphanies of like the earth is in trouble, what are you going to do about it? I had one of those on the beach in California, and subsequently my fourth year, second semester of aerospace engineering kind of dropped out of school. But during the Gulf War, it was my professor worked at Raytheon, and he was one of the designers of the Patriot or Scud missile, whichever one that we were lobbing into Kuwait and such. And I went to his office hours, and I was like, dude, like, so I wanted to take this class my whole life. Flight vehicle design was this class. So I was like, finally, I took all these SCUT science classes to get to this point. And, but he made it this like missile design class. He worked for Raytheon. So I went to his office hours during college, and I was like, sir, I'm having trouble coming to your class. It's all about, like, he was chalking up kills on the blackboard, basically.
That's crazy.
And I was like, I can't stomach coming to your class. I'm getting sick. Like, it's hurting my soul. I didn't say that, but something like that. And he said, well, who do you think you are? You're studying to be an aerospace engineer. We work for defense companies. That's what we do. That's who you're going to get hired by. Who are you to tell me this isn't? I was like, disenfranchised. I was like, yeah, okay. So I ended up moving out to California and did some self-exploration and fun stuff and following Fish around for a couple of years and Grateful Dead and that kind of fun stuff. And then circuitously wanted to, ended up back on the East Coast where I'm from, and was thinking of going to naturopathic school or osteopathic school or acupuncture school, and then had to finish up my degree, but like found this gentleman who does ecological engineering. His name is John Todd. So I was like, oh, I can use my engineering skills for good. So I got a job doing ecological engineering. I was designing composting toilets, wash water gardens, so you'd have like zero discharge in the wastewater stream, and that was a good thing to use my engineering degree for. And then I was doing a lot of yoga. I really liked it. Took yoga teacher training as a fun thing to do while I was working for engineering, and then was spending too much time on my computer and really wanted to work with people. So I quit my engineering job, which was a cool job, but like I wanted to work. And so I taught yoga full time for a while. Then I opened a yoga studio. I had a studio for 10 years. And then
you've done a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah, I've done a few things. And then my 2012 kind of like reawakening, if you want to call it, was, the gentleman you had him on twice, Jason Estes. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
He was talking about the lineage model is done, the pass on. I got the same memo that he got, similar memo in around
what was that?
2011.
What?
Like basically like these traditions of yoga where you come into a room, you do what tells you, move, the guru-based models and the lineage
the stuff that got us here is gone, or the stuff that got us here is no longer relevant.
So luckily, I owned the yoga studio for about a decade with my soul sister and one of my best friends, my friend Jen, and we were on similar paths, and we our lease renewals up. We get to start. We are also studying a lot of core living principles, which are like moving from the head. So there's three places of personal power for the human: the head, the heart, or the core. And the core has this quiet stillness, surety. The head, we like from yoga teaching point of view, we talk about the head being the monkey in the treehouse, and the heart's like an emotional roller coaster where you follow the ebbs and flows of everything that pulls your heartstrings. But when you drop into your core, that's the place to be. Like that's where you know essential truth. That's where universal wisdom. And so we kind of hacked the yoga thing, and we invented, co-created together soul centering, which I think you would like for Soul Speaks. It's perfect because we were
Yeah.
the core word is like, I don't say it's overdone, but it's plentifully used in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
Core.
What is soul centered? What
So
is
soul centering is a little bit like yoga. It's a thing that my friend Jen and I co-created because we wanted to, instead of like following the heart. So the lineage that I got trained in yoga was Anusara yoga, which means following the heart. And while I was doing that, I was doing all this core living exploration with this group of friends in Michigan, and we go on annual retreats a couple times a year. And I had this, when you get one of those truisms that redirects the whole course of your career and life, it was one of those like, if I keep following the heart, I'm going to be on this emotional roller coaster. I need to drop into my core and live from there. And this lineage that I've been studying for a decade is taking me to this different place. So we were like, okay, well we can work this. Let's do physical movement. So we do a lot of myofascial release on body balls. My soul sister Jen has a website where she sells balls, like where you can lay back on balls,
yeah, yeah.
unwind the fascia and the. So it's it might look similar, like we do some lunges and down dogs, but we do the physical part of yoga, but really work on the energy field of the body and doing it from from the inner core out.
So you're
So
focusing on what people call the core. You call it the soul center.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
very
I
cool.
do a lot more work now. People with
Is
one
there
to
is
one.
there a is there a specific spot? Is it like around the solar where the core is? It?
Yeah,
Yeah.
about 2 inches above the navel, deep in the center. What some people would call the hara. You know,
Yeah, I have no concept or experience with yoga. I know some of the words like uh, hatha yoga and some of the other ones, but that's
so
cool.
so in
So
20.
I mean, wow, I mean, you done like this what your early studies were in what was that? Was that nuclear engineering? What kind of engineering was that?
Aerospace, fluid mechanics.
Aero, yeah, and then you had, of course, this run in with this Illuminati pawn that worked for Raytheon. Then you went to California, became a Grateful Dead girl, and
Fish.
somewhere along the line, I think you did some mushrooms. And so, and then you had yoga studio for 10 years, and then you had to wake up basically saying, "This is all passe now." And you and your girlfriend invented, co-created this soul center thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, keep
And
going.
then around 2012, we decided to let go of our yoga studio and community, not dissolve the community, but move away from that style because we're both moms and it takes a lot, there's a labor of love. As you well know, you run Soulogy. It's a lot of hours behind the scenes that people don't necessarily know about, right?
That's right.
So I was like really wanted to be present with my kids while they were little. So I have a center. I moved from having a big yoga center where I managed a lot of teachers and that thing, but now I have a space that's me and mine. So it's here in Grafton, Mass. So I mostly do one-on-one energy balancing, light body activation. I do some Ayurvedic. Ayurvedic is the sister science of yoga. It's the science of life. I do some,
How did
as I say to
how
my
did
kids, make boo-boos go away, like body work, energy
how
work.
do you how do you find customers in a place like that? Is it just word of mouth?
Yeah, it's word of mouth. Well, it's an interesting point that I'm at now. So I do stuff remotely on Zoom with people.
Okay.
It's like you point out a good fact that there's so a lot of when I stopped doing the weekly group class thing and started doing one-on-one work with people, it was like I went to like inner space healing school. I put healing in quotes because we're all moving away from that word, right? It's like you
Yes,
hold
exactly.
space for people and they figure out their journey. But I would work a one-on-one with clients and aligning their energy field, and I would start to have these like almost like a lava lamp, these kaleidoscope, like geometric, like all this stuff would be playing. And I always wish, like, oh, I wish I knew Illustrator or Photoshop, or I wish I could design this and show my clients what I see in their field. It was these like points of light and lots of movement and lots of colors and this dynamic stuff. And now I know it was like it's light language, it's
Yeah.
codes, it's geometric codes.
Now you're seeing this when you're working with them. Is that what you're?
Yeah, it comes. I'm not as much a seer as like a feeler and
Okay.
sensor.
Mm.
But yes, it would with my eyes closed with a client. It was it took me a while to figure out like what was happening or what I was
Yeah.
noticing. So I was like, and then I started reading about light codes and light language and sound codes, and I would have that ding ding ding. Oh yeah, that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm feeling. So I built here. So a lot of the people you ask me how I get clients, I've been teaching yoga. Actually, this is my like 19th year of teaching in the Central Mass, so I know a lot of people from yoga classes, and they might want chakra balancing, energy work. So that's been a bridge for me. But the people that come to see me now are more, we're working. When you like 5 years ago, I named it inner space, but now I get why because I'm like, oh, we're working like galactic codes, we're working star codes, we're working location of like Mars and the kneecap, or things like I never know what's going to happen when I open space with friends, with clients.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So you'd mentioned before the show. So you want to talk about galactic center? Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is that? How's the celestial part of it related to the internal part of our body?
I think this is where I'm going to loop in our friend Katie. So
Yeah.
in in 2016, that's a I can be circuitous on your show, right? That's all like it's all weaving together.
That's
Um,
right.
how does it relate? So here's another way to say it. So when you work on your human energy field, and it's streams and rivers that the yogis call nadis, like the prana flows. Where Yoda would call it the force. Like
Yeah.
the
That language I understand.
Okay, so let's talk. I can talk Star Wars all day. Let's talk Star Wars. So, the Jedi's would use the Force to like levitate things or move things with their mind and do other things. Like the yoga school has like the cities, which are things one can master with self mastery. Um, but when I figured out that I was doing grid work, and I had been for a long time, energy wise with the Earth, they're like these layers. There's the human energy field, and then layered right over it, it's like there's connection points to the planetary energy grids, and then like to the solar system grids, and then to the galactic grids. It's like all kind of layered, like a microcosm, like a little bit like, have you ever had reflexology?
Yes.
Like so the sole of the foot maps out the body. So too does the body map
Maps out.
the universe. That's the easiest way to explain it, I guess. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of started to. So how do you consciously affect, or are we aligning with space, the stars, the cosmos? Are we influencing the cosmos by working on ourselves internally? If a planet's in our knee, how does that relate? Can we improve or expand that celestial body through working on ourselves, or are we to align with it? How does that work?
Great question. Yeah, so it's like the multidimensional self. It happens all simultaneously, and it's both. You asked if it's like us out or out in. It's both for sure. Like how astrology takes your natal chart and sees where the planets and the moons and stars were when you were born, and there's flows and patterns from the things in the solar system that we can see that create these sacred geometrical patterns or these energy flows and cosmic streams that align. And it's we do choose the time of our birth, right? We choose our family, we choose our, so, for myself, in my natal chart, my ascendant, my rising sign, is at the galactic center. So from our view here on Earth, if you look up, you've been to a planetarium and there's like the black dome across.
Yeah.
Call that the celestial sphere, right? So we see
Yeah.
we imagine that the whole cosmos is on that black dome, right?
Yeah.
So there's the Milky Way is that, I'm sure you can see it a lot better than I can because I'm near Boston. You're out in the middle. That's right. So, the Milky Way that goes across the sky, that's our galaxy. So our galaxy is a swirling disk of stars and celestial bodies, and we get to see that little slice of Milky Way.
Wow.
So that Milky Way comes through on the so the line that the stars and the moon, sun, and planets, not always the moon, but that's too technical, the sun and planets follow is called the ecliptic, where they rise and set. So like the Milky Way comes across that in our view in the constellation of Sagittarius.
That's me, Sagittarius.
You are?
So, yeah. So now what you're saying is I don't know any of this stuff. So you're saying that, which I do know, that the planets and the sun, they follow what you call the ecliptic, right?
Yeah.
And so the Milky Way is kind of intersecting that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's a spot on the Milky Way in the Sagittarius constellation near the star Sagittarius 3. You don't have to know which star. You can't really see this because there's dark clouds of dust and stuff that obscure our view of it. But the Milky Way,
but that intersection point is in the constellation of Sagittarius. Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Degrees of Sag. It's not. I think it says it moves 1 degree every 72 years as it proceeds through. But right now it's like 27 degrees and change.
All right.
Sagittarius. So, excuse me. My rising sign is around the 25 degree. And I was born 48 years ago. Whatever. So I was born right around it. My daughter's birthday is tomorrow. She's a galactic center baby. So that's led me to do some research December 18th. So it happens right around the solstice in December. The exact alignment is tomorrow night, but it's like clicked in. These aren't like 1 day things. We're talking about where the sun is in the sky in relation to the zodiac. So we're clicked in now. And Katie confirmed that for me because she commented on the post. I made a blog post about this today, so we had to have a landing point because I would know I wanted to talk to you about this because this is this week. Like we're clicked into the galactic center alignment right now.
Okay.
So
now, are we clicked into the galactic center just one time a year, or how does that work?
Well, we're always connected in, but you know how the sun moves, like you say the sun's in Cancer in July, and then it moves to Libra, and then like in September. It's like the center of the galaxy, the sun, and the Earth. You can draw a straight line through them. Like the sun sign moves into Sagittarius and lines up with. Does that make sense?
That must mean Sagittarius people are really special.
Of course they are, Todd.
So, okay. So, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. So now what did you post about today? What is it talking about? Because it seems like I had a short conversation with Lisa Transcendence Brown last night, and she was talking about how things have ramped up so much since 11/11, and then of course spending time with Morgan for the last few days, we've experienced a lot of things. We've felt a lot of things. We've had some personal, shared dimensional experiences, but we're also seeing everything out there, and it just seems like it's really, really something's coming. I can only believe it's the solstice, which the full moon is basically coinciding with. Mm-hmm. I mean, is this what you were writing about on the blog?
I did write about it on the blog today. So when I made that shift, I was always moving energy when I was doing yoga teaching, but not like in the same way that I have been since 2012. Like it's come at me in a different, like the learning, I think for all of us, right? The information is more multidimensional than ever. So when I started contemplating, I could tell that I was, like for any individual, like how does one plug in and get more of the Force? If I'm a Jedi Knight in training, where do I plug myself in to receive the Force? And as I contemplated that more and more, I had some direct connection, and I spend a lot of time outside in nature as much as I can, some direct connection to the sun itself and the solar codes. And I do a lot of transmitting the rainbow rays and the rainbow light body. Like, so I realized as much as I was doing energy field work, I was doing a lot of light body work with my clients. And the sun started just really communicating direct codes and wisdom at me. So I was just getting all this information of like how things work. And I was like, all right. So one of the systems I was shown is the source of life or the center of the universe, and that central light like going out to all the center of the galaxies. And then from the center of the galaxy, you know, all the stars are born and then they're spun. So our Milky Way happens to be a spiraled, we're actually a barred spiral. So the center of our galaxy is a line of light, but then there's all these spiraling arms that swirl off of it. And I just do a lot of personal communing with the stars too. And I noticed that a lot of the nebula, the stars particularly that would talk to me the most at night, all were on the Orion arm, the same arm that our solar system is on. Of, you know, you can picture so we have 4 main spirals of the Milky Way.
Okay.
And we're on a little spur of one of those spirals.
Okay.
Called the Orion arm. And I feel like the central distribution, like the Force distributes itself from the center of the galaxy and then out through, it's almost like each star rebroadcasts. Kind of like network, Soulogy network, you know, like you rebroadcast and a friend shares on Facebook. It's like the codes of life get rebroadcast.
Yeah.
Every star, every sun.
It's like a macro micro thing.
Yeah. So that's like when you ask about how energy healing works with so every chakra, every vortex on the human body acts a little bit like a galaxy.
Yeah.
Because it distributes these streams, these channels. I'm Italian. I talk with my hands a lot.
So I'm Spanish. My last name ends in a vowel. I get that. But now, so basically, too, the internal part of our bodies is set up celestially, basically, and you have the macro micro of the center of each, say, chakra, whatever it may be, and then we ourselves are composed of those things which we are too, right? So in other words, we're like a galaxy too. Because I've heard that from the other side before. I've heard
there's something about the 8 to me. Like I made an octagon rainbow grid with silks, and I can take you to it as here. It's like this. It's kind of like a teepee or a dome, but it's an octagon, and I have silks that are painted each color. It's dyed, natural dyed, the colors of the chakras, the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah.
But back to what you were just talking about. Last year is when, for real, this not for real, for like it drew me right in, this galactic center stuff, and I learned a whole bunch about it last December. And I figured out that this week last year, I was sitting in meditation, and I got this feeling of the spiraling galaxy, but then it turned, you know, imagine it's this way, it turned itself upright, and then my central channel, my Sushumna Nadi, became that filament of the center, I talked about the barred spiral of the Milky Way. It's almost like that was installed, or ran up and down my spine. So the galaxy was now spinning like this way. And I was like, oh, that's why we have the energy field that we have. You know, that central channel is like the center, the core. Because the core of the galaxy, our galaxy, isn't actually a single point. It's this tube of light, or this filament of stars.
Wow.
So I don't know, maybe I don't have this answer, but maybe all of us creatures that live here in these barred spiral galaxies, like our energy fields, are set up that way. That's one possibility.
You would think so. You would think with the macro micro thing.
So I wrote back to the galactic center alignment. There's a way that, so if we want to get, you're outside today, right? Because you're sick of doing this, not sick of, but you were whatever, saturated of doing the show indoors, and you wanted sunlight, right? So
actually, Morgan's sleeping.
Oh.
So
that's even better reason to do the show outside. But for any of us that want to go outside and drink in the sun, right? We know that gives us life force. We just all do it intuitively, naturally. So where does the sun go when the sun wants to plug in? You know, like the sun gets to plug into the center of the galaxy. So through these, like, I feel like this is just my interpretation of it, but I feel like that information, that light code, that info comes down the spiral arm to like star to star, kind of like a, baton, like the torch for the Olympics gets passed on hand
Yeah,
in
yeah,
hand, and it's
yeah.
like, and then we get it. Our sun, Solaris, gets it and distributes it out to our solar system. And there's something about the eight, because the oxygen atom has 8 electrons, just like
Yeah.
just like our solar system now has 8 planets, though of course there's 9 or 12 or whatever. But there's like, oxygen is a source of a lot of our human life and life on Earth. So there are these things, like, this is what I called in my bio the code of life. So I'm working on, it might be when my kids get to college, but I'm working on a book called The Code of Life, and I'm putting out some classes that start in January of
Really?
exploring this kind of stuff. Yeah, I work mostly in person with people, but I'm really like, you're helping me figure this out,
We're
Katie.
gonna.
Like,
Yeah. Well, it's
take
all
it
coming
online
together.
and reach a
I'm
lot more souls.
I'm officially appointing you the Soulogy Scientist as of today.
All right, I'll take
You
that.
gotta.
That
Yeah.
torch and run with it, friend.
Yeah, but that's a great idea, especially to take advantage of the, uh, you know, the reach you can have using the highest manifestation of the ethers, which is the internet. You know, I mean, so yeah, so you're going to be teaching beginning in January. Be putting this stuff out there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
and so go back to the 2016. So you're talking about hanging out with Lisa. I've been studying Lisa's material for years, and I'm in her studying courses in her mastery school, in her monthly membership stuff. And yeah, it's a lot of that, like when she talks about, where should we go? Like, so I was talking about the 20s, like a lot of us felt in 2016 like something extra happened.
Yeah.
And that is when I met Katie, around when the Standing Rock water protectors were working. One of the people on Facebook, they were sharing a lot from there on Facebook, and one of them posted one of Katie's ceremonies. Like, she did a ceremony for Standing Rock, and I was like, I gotta get with that girl. She knows she's speaking some truth. She just, like we all find, I think, when we find her work, the people are supposed to work with her. And but there's like an acceleration. The 2012 in the Mayan calendar had the 5 years before it and the 5 years after it as like this accelerated time.
So that would be like 2007
It was
to
till like last
2017.
December.
Okay.
Yeah. And like,
Yeah.
so that like catapulted us to this whole new wave. And then now we're like, so you were asking about right now, like December has a lot of influx. This is what I wrote about in my blog today. December has a lot of opportunities for us, just because, you can always draw a line between the Earth, Sun, and the center of the galaxy ish, like any line. But from where we sit, it's like the sun moves into that, kind of like we talk about equinoxes or eclipses. Like when there's a certain alignment, I feel like the sun goes to the galactic center spot in Sagittarius and gets supercharged. And here, I'm in the northern hemisphere, so it's like we turn into that time of light at the winter solstice, where the days get longer and longer. And there's just a way the sun gets supercharged, super coated, and it can transmit better and better those codes of life. And so this year, we have a lot of. So it's tomorrow, tomorrow, this whole week, that we're in that alignment where the sun and the galactic center are talking and like double producing energy and light codes that they're sending to our planet. So we can tune into those anytime. And then the full moon, so that we have the solstice on the 21st, depending where you're on the globe, it's 21st, 22nd. And the 22nd is the new moon, the full moon. And the 22nd, also, I've been watching, so I have a star app that I watch every day. Like, if I wake up at night and, like, it's sort of like a cosmic thing waking me up, I'll, like, check. I'm like, okay, what star just rose, or what's happening? But the sun is coming close to the Lagoon Nebula, which is a nebula in the Sagittarius section of the sky that is one of the biggest star producers that we can see with the unaided, you can see everything with a telescope. Hubble telescope could see everything. But if you were on the beach in a really dark place and looked up, you could probably see this Lagoon Nebula. That and the Orion Nebula are the two brightest producers of stars that we can see with unaided human eye. So that felt significant to me. Like I was like,
so that's the Orion Nebula, and what's the other one? In Sagittarius?
Lagoon
Lagoon.
Nebula.
I'm gonna look that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just downloaded that app, or one of those apps where you can look. Yeah.
Not to be commercially about the blog, but that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you. It was like, what's the highest thing that I can offer? I love your, like, we're offering vibrations out into the collective, right? So if I'm meeting you on December 18th or 17th, what's the highest thing I can talk to you and the collective about? And this week, this to me is the highest alignment of anything we could all talk about. You know, getting these star codes into our human cells.
And so, okay, so keep telling us, but so along the lines of how do we take advantage of that? How do we serve ourselves?
That's a
beyond just being aware of it. How can we expand it as individuals?
This question, I love it. Well, you know, this time of year, like what popped in is like a lot of people pop into the planet and off the planet at this time of year. Have you noticed that? Like
what do you mean?
And live and born
as physical transition, or
yeah.
Okay,
well,
I got you.
You know, we're about to celebrate. People that celebrate Christmas are about to celebrate the birth of a certain sun.
Yeah.
A whole thing with the Galactic Center and the birth of the Son of God.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Another show, some other time. But today is my dad died on December 17th, 11 years ago.
Wow.
My daughter's born tomorrow. A couple friends, you know, I have a friends, but that's like one base of. But you asked me a better question than that. It was like, how do we take advantage of it as people?
Yeah.
I feel like the whole thing of like the holiday time, the winter holidays, whether you're celebrating solstice or Christmas or Hanukkah, like the return of light. It's like being nice to each other and being extra kind, like celebrating the Christmas stuff that way.
So in other words, we can kind of we don't have to go galactic or angelic. We can just go right back into the best of the human.
Yeah. I feel like that's the only, like,
and that's,
I think if I can get the Christmas tree up and lights on it without yelling at my husband, we'll call that success.
I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore.
No. But, you know, or like that, like for me, it's always those little moments of like family, peace and harmony, and like, you know,
but isn't that
having I think just for me, like when I think galactically, it helps me, like if I'm having a interpersonal conflict with somebody, or if I'm in a certain way, it's like big picture always helps me be more kind and present and loving with the people that are in my life. Like that's really what it comes down to for me, and like expressing more joy, or you know, I am lucky that I get to live with little kids, and like I'll drive around. This part of the world decorates pretty heavily this week here, so we just drive around and like we see blow up reindeers, and like we've got a giant dragon on our front lawn. That's all, like, you know.
I saw that. That was classic. But
so,
you know,
that kind of thing of like driving around and looking at Christmas lights on houses, and like my kids are like in the back seat, like lights. Like it doesn't get old for us. We just drive, like we could do that all, but we couldn't do it all year. Like it's only special because it's this time of the year. So part of that, like we all put stuff up on our houses and lights. Not we all, but the people that feel like.
Well, you know, you bring up a good point. You know, and having had 6 kids and remembering those distant memories. But you know, we and for me, you know, included. You know, 2011, 12, 13, 14, you know, living somewhat in seclusion and connecting all the time, unaware of shadows, unaware of the human part of it, or disassociating or distancing myself from the human part of it. But you bring up a good point, and that is so many of us have been tied up in the angelic and in the galactic and getting transmissions and downloads and channelings and whatever, that really, I love what you said, because the closest way to connect is to get into the deepest part of your human, or maybe it's a combination of that and taking in the galactic, the angelic, the multidimensional aspects, and embodying them within our human being. You know, I mean, you've got such a broad spectrum of experiences and knowledge and research and study, yet you're a mom and you boiled it all down to putting up the Christmas tree and not yelling at your husband. I mean, I think that's just like, whoa, you know, that's just like, whoa. I mean, I know like with Morgan and I, we've been back together for what, 8 or 9 days. We've had some incredible, what people would call multidimensional. Now we've had them before and we've talked about them, but when you get right down to it, it's just us taking a walk or having sharing a shrimp appetizer, or
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's crazy. We spend all this time trying to get away from the human, but maybe that's where our highest activations or expansion is. What do you think?
Yeah, well, for sure. Or it's like, as we'd say, it's the final frontier.
Yeah,
I feel like it's easier to be, you know, at one with the things that are more, like the angelic realms, like you're talking about, or the elemental realms, because they inspire you and uplift you. That's like a whole,
yeah,
but like to get down and find the peace in the like sibling
yes.
dynamics of little kids and like changing
Yeah.
diapers and like doing all that like real
Oh,
world grounded
oh,
stuff.
the hell with that stuff. I'm not doing any more of those. But no,
Keeps
but
you still grounded though.
it's oh, yeah. Man, I have changed so many diapers 6 times. I don't know what, 6 times. It got to be at least a couple thousand, 3,000. I don't know. But
Yeah.
you used the word certiculous or whatever yeah. And so it's almost like we found we awaken as a human consciousness, and we start looking all out here and connecting all out here, thinking, oh, we got to expand and grow, and then it brings you all the way back in this big circuit to your own human being. It's mind blowing. It's like the dog chasing its tail. Yeah,
So fun.
yeah, very cool, very cool. So, I mean, you know, what do you see for 2019? I mean, I know there's, as you explained so well, the way it's kind of set up, with the galactic center and the way that it runs on that little arm of Orion,
Yeah.
and how there's that intersection in Sagittarius.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, it seems like we're in a time of kind of like the end, kind of like a cycle of cycles. Like there's a whole circuit of cycles, and yet are we getting to the end of a cycle of cycles? Like, are we the second hand on the clock,
Yeah.
having gone around and coming back to the top?
Close to we are. I think you're like we're toggling towards. There's one I believe that's coming at 2024 of like a galactic cycle. Um, but every year that we toggle closer, it definitely changes things. They talk about it in the Vedas, which are the ancient lineage in the Indic Valley and the Himalayas. They talk about the Yuga cycle, and that then the Mayan calendar has its own cycles. If you look at a lot of the indigenous cultures, they talk about these galactic cycles and solar system cycles. So we're not exactly on any of them, but as we move closer and closer, like to me, that's the same thing as ascension, really. Like that's what their terminology for it was
Right.
back then, and that like cosmically, there's a lot of parts of the universe that are just less. You're driving you've done lots of cross country travels, right? Like when you hit like a patch of those bugs, you lived in Texas, right? Like a lot of like mosquitoes or whatever coming at your windshield at night. Like there's a places where there's a lot of them, and then places on the drive that are just like wide open, and you don't see as many of them. So if you picture all the bugs as star particles, or the asteroid belt in our solar system, a lot of people talk about the photon belt, like a place. I think there's more than one of them personally, but there's places like Ascension is like our galaxy, you might say, like circling around the center of the universe, and like we get into these places where the cosmic streams, where the star particles are more dense, like there's more bugs hitting the windshield, so you're getting
Yeah.
more downloads and codes and information, And we're
You're
definitely
getting,
in one of those times.
yeah, you're getting the shift beat out of you.
Yeah. We're just a lot is coming through.
Holy
You asked
shift.
about 2019. I haven't, like, I will sit down and do it, but I've been so engaged in the grid working and the gatekeeping of this particular cycle of December that I haven't personally sat with 2019. Like, it hasn't been
Yeah.
my job yet. But if I find anything out, I'll let you know.
It just, yeah, I don't know. I just ask, and I ask everybody because this year seems like some type of completion. And then, and even really before this year's ended, I mean, certainly December and probably November has been kind of this, to me, it's like, well, there's a lot of stuff still coming up for some people. You know, and talking to Lisa yesterday, she was talking to me about how we're making quantum leaps, and some people in the, or she referred to it as the collective. The collective is just now coming to a place where we've already kind of been. Maybe you call it the way showers or Blu-rays. But to my point is like November, December seems to have begun the initial stages of serious manifestation, materialization, expansion. You know, the magic, the fairy tale. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know if the galactic center and all the cosmology and all that stuff. I don't know if that if you can really prophesize through that stuff or predict through that stuff, or are we writing that template or blueprint?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Hmm.
Some
So
people might.
now,
That's not one of my jobs.
no,
Like, not right now.
yeah.
Predicting,
So
but it does, like, it's interesting you say that. Like, when I look at 2019, because you asked, it feels like it has a lot more spaciousness.
it
I'm
does.
sure we're going to be on another, but it just kind of looked like a little more open in spaciousness. Maybe it's more
Yeah,
integration at the beginning of the year. Because
maybe
we've
we
been
can
on a
breathe.
wild ride 2018, yeah?
Shoot, 2018 was crazy, man.
You're like, to
I was,
infinity and beyond.
I
We're
was
Buzz
get,
Lightyear.
yeah, I was getting those on this day memories in Facebook over the last 3 or 4 days a year ago. I had gone down to North Carolina because I thought I was going to put, stabilize and, start getting rooted, uh, and it didn't work out. So I ended up hanging out with this crazy brother and working on some remodeling for a couple of weeks to make some money for Soulogy. But I was just looking at what's happened in 1 year, all the different places I've been, it's like a roller coaster, but I don't know, it sounds crazy, but a balanced roller coaster. You know what I mean? But still, all that cosmic debris that you were talking about, it was everywhere for everybody too, really, this year.
Yeah. And a lot of we've had so many meteors and that comet, the Weigerton, I'm not sure how you say it. Like, there's been comets that have come close, like that large green. There's been a lot of, and it's, it's maybe a conversation for another time, but there's been a lot of activation of the plasma stuff. I've been doing a lot of research about plasma and the plasma body, the lymph, and how the physical structure of the human body can take in some of these cosmic. There's a whole cycle of stuff going on with the solar minimum and how
See
the
those bubbles?
no, are they bubbles?
There's a bubble machine to start. I'm sorry,
Oh, that's
I didn't
perfect.
mind to interrupt you. I just didn't
No,
want
I like bubble machines.
to.
I live in the
But
city. Um,
yeah, I didn't.
what were we talking about?
You were talking about you researched the plasma.
Just the
Were you
plasma.
saying it's
So we're at a solar. There's a place where our sun goes through cycles too, and right now we're approaching a solar minimum where there's less solar radiation, less sunspots, and it affects the Earth's magnetosphere, and then it affects what kind of cosmic rays and radiation can come through. And there's a lot of ways that we, as the human form, can use these incoming cosmic rays. The ionic field. The plasma is the fourth state of matter. It's not a solid, liquid, or gas, but plasma is a fourth state where it's an ionized gas, like a gas with electrical charge, where the proton and neutron have been separated from the electron. So it's almost like an electrical wire would conduct electrons. Plasma gas conducts electricity, and there's a lot of ways that we can use some of the incoming solar codes. Maybe 2019 will be us like figuring out for the human field, like how we take those in as fuel and resource.
Yeah.
Because there's, some, I think, misconceptions in the collective that it's going to be something bad for the human form, like something to be, fearful of. But we can actually use it for source light and source code.
Magic. Use it for magic. Um, yeah, I'm really glad to have you on the Soulogy team.
Thank
Now
you.
now we have a Soulogy scientist. And I want to ask you two quick questions before we move on to the next show,
Yeah.
or two subjects. So one would be, now how old are your children?
My daughter's turning 4 tomorrow, and I have a 9-year-old son.
Wow. So just a short synopsis, what are you seeing with these young people?
My son, you asked me like my awakening. My son coming through was a cosmic ride of epic proportions, and he is like, imagine having Katie Indicrow as your son at 9 years old, taking care of that person. Like what? Like he's aware. He works in the astrals heavy.
Really?
He's aware of it at a young age.
Wow.
He's like one of our teammates for real, like on.
Wow.
And my daughter's like rainbows and unicorns. She's
wow.
But she's like, when Katie was visiting us, she stayed with our family. She was trying to convince Katie. She's like, no, there's unicorns that come in my bedroom at night for real. And Katie was like, yeah, no, I know. Like, I believe you. Like, she was like used to that paradigm. Oh, I love your bubbles.
That have They're to, like, taking up.
Convince one that unicorns are real. Like, no, we're hanging out in a posse. Everyone, all these adults know. Like, we're the. But they're the kids for sure. Like, it's a passion, not even project of mine, but like to keep that is the. How do we change the world? It's like raising these kids that are coming in fully aware, fully activated, fully enhanced, and they have opinions about how things should go down. So it's like respecting them, and it's like patience game as a mom or a dad. And it's helped me to come up, like I have now more people that are like-minded that have these kids too. Like for any of us that can get together and share stories and tales, because you'd almost think like, when I was a kid, a lot of that stuff got dismissed, or I didn't even I would never talk to my parents about my imaginary star friends that would come down and talk to me. Like that wasn't a thing that was okay to talk about. But like I want my kids to feel like they can talk about it.
Yeah, they're lucky to have a mom like you. Now, what about without going too deep because we don't have much time, but obviously you've been in a partnership for a long time. How does that go? Does your husband feel like Darren on the old show Bewitched? Or
like, honey, you bought me some more Andaras for Christmas. A couple days. Yeah.
Or I mean, what's that like? Is he tuned in as you, or is it more of a relationship of polarities integrating?
That's a sweet question. He's my real world anchor. He's a math professor at college, but his I get him with it's the astronomy stuff. So his research field is celestial mechanics. So he studies like the mathematics, maybe, of what we've all been talking about. Mm-hmm. So that's like, but I also find, so he's not like having the conversations like you and I are having, but he's got an open mind. He's a smart guy. He does like, I get the eye rolls of like, like if we told him that, dragons led to you to Hawaii, or, unicorns came, like that's not his wheelhouse. That's not his. I was going to
say, what does he think of the unicorns in your daughter's bedroom?
Like, oh, that's nice, honey. Like a little bit, but like, that's okay. Like he respects me and he gives me space to be me.
Yeah. I bet that's an interesting dance of the divine genders, the divine feminine and divine masculine.
Yeah, but he's, he's like, we're having more and more conversations too.
Yeah.
But like grid work's intriguing to him. Like,
Well,
no.
I think he's outnumbered in that house. It's 3 to 1. So, and if you have any so-called pets, that even
We
further
don't have
outnumbers.
any pets right now. Not like
Yeah. Well,
besides the dragon. No.
you've got enough on your plate. I really enjoyed this.
Um,
I'm looking forward to doing it. I'm looking forward to doing it more and more. I'm really happy that you're part of the Soulogy network, and we'll see you soon. How about that?
I would love that. You're awesome. Thank you for everything.
You are too. We're going to come on again in probably 4 to 8 minutes. I'm going to take a quick break
Who's
with
coming on? Who's coming on?
Andy Horry, this young kid. I think he's from, I don't know where he's from. I have no idea what we're going to talk about.
I'll watch it. I can't wait.
But he's young, and we need more of that. And I see Hippie Ike just walked in the door, and I will contact you, my brother. I've been wanting to get him on for so long. He's about 19 or 20. We got to get more of these young people on. So
Sure.
if you're young, and if you're not, and you want to be on the show, hit me up. We're going to try to get to everyone that we can. And then we're also going to have people like Julie and Katie talking to people as well. So we're going to keep growing this thing. Thank you so much for coming on. The best to you and your family. You take care. All right. Peace out. I'll see everybody in a few minutes.